our musical accompaniment by Providence Drum Troupe. Thank you also to the wonderful team of staff, faculty, students, alumni, and volunteers who have made today's ceremony possible. I'd also like to acknowledge the 3 members of RISD's Student-Run Design Guild who designed this year's incredible materials. This is a fantastic endeavor. Ryan Brandon Shaw, graphic design senior, illustration senior Wei Chin Peter Chu, and graphic design junior Ryan Shan-Yun Yang. Thank you very much. And a warm welcome to all of you gathered here today to celebrate Rhode Island School of Design's 141st commencement and the class of 2024. Greetings to RISD's co-chairs of the Board of Trustees, members of the board, staff, faculty, librarians, curators, our honorary degree recipients and presidents and medal of honor recipients, alums, families, and friends. It is wonderful to gather together and celebrate the accomplishments of RISD's graduating students, among whom are a group of people for whom this may be their first graduation ceremony since, I don't know, maybe middle school. Congratulations again to all of you. I want to especially acknowledge the parents, caregivers, family, and other beloveds who have supported the graduates, providing them with advice, insight, and encouragement, even parents and guardians and beloveds, when you may not have understood what exactly art school is, what it could uniquely offer your child, what might be possible with a degree from art school. For many of you parents and families, particularly those of you who are not artists and designers, you stepped out on a limb, faith-filled, that your child had a deep well of wisdom that was calling them powerfully to this place. You've been instrumental in our arrival on this day. When I'm out in the world and meet parents and caregivers, to the person, you express to me how thankful you are that your child, often the kid in high school who was a bit on the periphery of things, who didn't always quite jive with the other students, who saw things differently, who doodled or longed to doodle when everyone else was doing things that were much less interesting. These young people persisted in their belief that art school was the place for them. And then they got here and got wide-eyed and exhaled, "I found my peeps." And they began to bloom. Indeed, RISD is precisely where artists, dreamers, makers converge, leaning into and on each other, pushing each other to innovate, sharpen, and grow. You have trusted your children enough to loan them to us for this short period. In so doing, you are also now part of us, this incredible community of humans who believe that the power and necessity of artists and designers is more important now than ever before. So I and we thank you. And we welcome you, especially to this graduation ceremony, which may be the first you attended as well. This party is about you too. So graduates, there's something with the mortarboard that says back there, "Thanks, Mom and Dad." Graduates, I want you to take a moment to truly thank your beloveds who are here with us today. Thank you. So last year at an alumni event in the Bay Area, I met an alum, Nancy Gavin. And she was at the event with her 2 daughters and sitting at a table in a motorized wheelchair. So from across the room, I was immediately taken by the spirit that radiated from her, she sparkled and was really, she was like a gravitational pull. So I went over to introduce myself and learned that Nancy graduated from RISD in 1954, 70 years ago. She was, I believe at the time, 92. So she went on to have a career as a medical illustrator. And if you know anything about history, you know how extraordinary that is for someone who graduated in 1954. Although medical illustrators were primarily women at the time, as you might imagine, female medical illustrators were not treated the same as their male peers. Often, men entered the field with science degrees or from military backgrounds where they'd been ranking officers, pursuits regarded then as noble and rigorous. In contrast, female medical illustrators like Nancy were often treated as clerks and not highly skilled professionals, despite their training in arts degrees and expertise. So you can imagine that Nancy must have had many reservations about her future in 1954, and she must have felt great uncertainty about what might be possible for her, having no crystal ball to see into what 2024 might actually look like. One of my favorite things about being president of Rhode Island School of Design is having substantive conversations with incredible people. I especially love those conversations with students. Every month I schedule dedicated time to focus on students and connect one-on-one with them. And sometimes that happens in my office, sometimes over lunch, sometimes in their studio and workspaces, and sometimes just in passing. A few weeks ago, leading actually up to last week, among the RISD students I spent time with were 3 graduating seniors. I heard 2 common themes from each of them, independent of each other, that made me think about Nancy, and made me think about you, graduates, and the many conversations I've had with seniors over the years. So I want to share 2 themes, 2 sort of orientations that may help you think about your current realities. The first orientation is the backwards glance, folks who are sort of constantly looking in the rear view. Some of you, I know, lament leaving this magical place. You recognize the incredible gift RISD is and how unique a place it is. You understand that it may be unlikely that ever again in your lives you are surrounded by such thinkers, catalysts, makers, and by so much sawdust. Indeed, this is a place and experience you've savored. You're right. There are few other places like it on the planet where one can so exclusively focus on honing artistry, design innovation, collaboration, and attaining visual and material knowledge. And there is no other place, frankly, like RISD. Here, you've been cocooned and nurtured, and challenged to push your creative boundaries. If you are lamenting in this way, know that many of your peers do too. I want you to remember that RISD has equipped you with the tools and skills to thrive in the world beyond. Whether it's the ability to think critically, to adapt to new technologies, or to collaborate effectively, your RISD education has prepared you for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. You cannot recreate the past, graduates, nor should you attempt to remain in the past. But you can create a future that is predicated upon the lessons that you learned here. In life, please always pay most keen attention to when you have succeeded, and be clear-eyed about the elements that helped you succeed. So, if for instance, part of what helped you succeed while you were here at RISD was that makers surrounded you, which is an essential element of your success, design a life in which that element, being surrounded by makers, is ever present. If you, in part, succeeded here at RISD because you had members and mentors who pushed you, sometimes uncomfortably, design a life in which you are surrounded by people who have the highest expectations of you. And suppose you succeeded here because you respond well to industriousness and deadlines and hard work. The answer for your future is to design a life in which order and industriousness and deadlines are central elements. In other words, control for and make the conditions for your own success. You are designers, and we know you can do that. The second orientation that I've heard from graduating seniors is the kind of forward peak. Some of you are unsure about what comes next, and you find this unsettling, destabilizing, and perhaps even frightening. This uncertainty, beloved graduates, is a fundamental aspect of life. But you've already mastered the art of uncertainty in many different ways while here. For example, a few days ago, Dean Stryker from Experimental Foundation Studies was talking to a group of us about one of the exercises you were given as first-year students at EFS. And that exercise, as I understood it, was to take a single idea and to work it over the course of multiple weeks, expanding and exploring until something new emerged. You didn't know what, after many weeks of adapting the same idea, the end result would be, but you did the exercise. The developmental trajectory Dean Stryker showed us reflects deep engagement, deep exploration, frustration in some cases, and then breakthroughs. Something completely new emerging from a seemingly unrelated thing. The images she showed us explained how a single moment in time, and from a simple idea, by iterating and reiterating, something beautiful, robust, surprising, and complex might emerge. This is the best warning against future casting and the best metaphor for life I can think of for you in this moment. If anyone tells you that they can future cast, tell them you have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell them. Life doesn't work by crystal ball, it works by iteration, and you are experts at iteration. Uncertainty can and should always be met, graduates, with curiosity, lest it paralyze. And in relation to curiosity, you are uniquely capable. I recently heard a phrase one of your peers sort of called the RISD brain. All of that questioning that you've done, all of the pushing against and exceeding boundaries, all of the iteration, all of the imagining and then implementing via materiality, all of those messes you've made, all of the grand extravagances you've created, all of that grit and perseverance, the incredible work ethic that you've gained, that's the RISD brain. And believe me, when I tell you you are beautifully prepared for whatever comes next, even though you don't know what that is. Those questions, that unusual thinking that you've likely taken for granted because it's so prevalent here, graduates, is not typical. Believe me, when you go out into the world, you will understand what I am saying to you. That RISD brain is one of your superpowers. What we know by all evidence is that people who ask smart and creative questions and then who can respond to and act in accordance with and in service of those questions through collaboration, consistently implemented creative problem solving, people who understand and perceive limitations of materials and seek to exceed those limitations, the future belongs to those folks. So, you are 726 students in this endeavor. You speak 48 languages, hail from 36 countries, 34 states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. You've studied across program areas from fine arts to liberal arts, focusing on 21 different concentrations to practice techniques for brainstorming and ideation. You learned how to make those approaches more inclusive by asking questions about who and what we do not center in our solution making and why. Your toolbox is overflowing. Materials that you've been using as inspiration in your classroom and studios, from those to the artists and poets and writers and performers and scholars and thinkers that you've discovered. Now you're in a position to enact and expand upon your dreams. Not only can you fabricate a model or a hand-built vessel, but you can simulate and analyze complex systems by typing a formula and variables into a keyboard. You know color theory and material science, so you understand how physical elements and environments affect our mood, productivity, and even our ability to experience joy. Artists and designers are not spectators, but active shapers of human history. Finally, this is not an orientation necessarily, but something I gleaned from other conversations with seniors, and something I wish for you. One of the things that I find most fascinating about Nancy Getman, beyond her courage and grit and perseverance in challenging situations, is her ingenuity. At 92, her hands didn't work quite as they once did. And so with the loss of some mobility, she had taken a new approach to drawing. So now, Nancy uses her iPad. Rather than let her passion and skills languish, she asked a question. Given my current realities, how can I accomplish what I want to achieve? This is a trait that I wish for all of you. The ability to adjust and pivot, to always foreground the passion and skill that drives you, that brought you here. You've done it once by coming to art school, you did it again by completing art school, and you'll do it again and again and again as RISD alums. May each of you inhabit a bit of Nancy's spirit, so that in 70 years, you'll be at an alumni event with whatever in 70 years is the analog to Nancy's iPad, still making, still questioning, still expressing, each of you a sparkling gravitational force. I will end with a poem that is written by one of my favorite poets. And as with most poems, it is multi-layered, but I think it is appropriate for this moment of graduation and a moment of newness, leaving one state of being and going into another. It's titled Blessing the Boats by Lucille Clifton. May the tide that is entering even now, the lip of our understanding, carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever. And may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. Congratulations. I welcome you.
Thank you, President Williams. And good morning, everyone. I am delighted to be here, and I am delighted to introduce our graduate student speaker, Lauren Blond, Master of Architecture. Lauren is originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She received her bachelor's degree in architecture from Yale in 2016 and worked in Boston as an architect and for the Boston Public Schools before coming to RISD. Her thesis is focused on constructing and imagining spaces for grief within public life and takes form as a full-scale booth incorporating photography and film. Upon graduation, Lauren will be moving to New Haven to work at Pickard Chilton Architects and study for her licensure exams. Please welcome Lauren to the podium.
Thank you, Provost Gadesi and President Williams. It's an enormous honor to be here. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of all of us students, thank you to RISD's faculty and staff for all your tireless work. Thank you to the City of Providence for embracing us as members of your community and giving us a beautiful place to create. Lastly, thank you to our families, those present and those not, who got us here today. This celebration is as much for you as it is for us. As some of you surely remember, this spring on April 8th, we, in a narrow band stretching from Texas to Vermont, experienced a rare and extraordinary planetary event, a total solar eclipse. Before its occurrence, admittedly, I wasn't all that interested in the eclipse. I'm not much of a scientist, and when my friends told me another wouldn't happen for 20 years, I felt no urgency or longing. It was just something that would eventually happen again, and that some people would enjoy. However, on a whim, and unbeknownst to my professor, who I would later learn was headed to Maine for his own eclipse viewing, I skipped class, got in the car with a friend, and started towards the zone of totality. Still mostly unsold on the idea of the eclipse, I wrote emails in the car, did readings for a class, and took a nap. The drive, though, ended up being somewhat of an ordeal. We hit really heavy traffic, so with only a minute to spare, at 3:26, somewhere in upstate Vermont, we pulled off on the side of I-89, ran up the berm with our glasses, and looked up to see the event. And then, all of a sudden, the sky dimmed into a panoramic sunset, diamond flare appeared on the rim of the moon, and then the eclipse. The ring of the sun was otherworldly, an impossible marvel unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And for a brief moment, everyone on our stretch of the highway was in awe of this beautiful thing. Driving back, listening to an impassioned speech from my NASA-inclined friend in the driver's seat, I learned just how cosmically rare and profoundly unlikely this eclipse was. Now, stay with me while I do some math. The moon is approximately 385,000 kilometers from the Earth. The sun is just over 400 times as far. The moon is about 3,475 kilometers in diameter. The sun is 400 times as large. As a result, the moon, small but mighty and perfectly placed, is able to cover the sun. And get this, the moon's orbital path is slowly getting wider, meaning that eventually the sun and the moon will fall out of alignment, and so at some point, someone on Earth will see the last solar eclipse. That such size relationships exist among two celestial bodies is already spectacular, but that their orbital paths are similar enough in relationship to our Earth at this very point in time when we are alive is divine. This confluence, rare, beautiful, and generative, is, as I see it, much like our experience here at RISD. We are here in just the right place at just the right time, even if we may not realize it. I have often lost sight of days and months, forgetting to stop and cherish things. I'll say I'm too busy to go to the lecture at Metcalf, skip out on grad exchange in favor of working a little longer on my studio project, or I'll go home early to sleep instead of staying for that extra drink at the La Colonial. But somewhere in the last year, I realized just how extraordinary RISD experiences are, and I started to wring every last drop out of my remaining time here. We've all taken circuitous, global, and infinitely complex paths to get here, arriving at this small school in the smallest state. And there's so much beauty in our diverse interests. And from that diversity, magical, unexpected moments and inventions happen. When you meet someone from a different department, from a different part of the world, whose art inspires you, and with whom you create a profound collaboration. So, could it be that RISD is its own zone of totality? One where a whole other kind of significant connection occurs. Much like the eclipse though, our totality is brief. The late author Marina Keegan wrote about her own college years, everything is so beautiful and so short. Nothing could be more true of these few precious years during which we find ourselves home in Providence. Lucky for us, though, and like the eclipse, the memory and significance of RISD will last forever. These years will always be the RISD years. We may leave Providence, but we will always have the creativity of RISD in our DNA. That said, I sometimes feel, as perhaps some of you do, that I lack something as an artist. I look around at other creators and wonder if my work lives up to the standards set forth by my peers. I question if my work communicates enough, or if I really have something to say. But if I learned anything from driving nearly 9 hours to see just 30 seconds of the moon covering the sun, it is this: that one of the most powerful things art and design can do, whether big or small, brilliant or banal, is bring people together. I've been hard-pressed to imagine anything besides the eclipse that would bring people of all ages, some who had never even been interested in the phases of the moon, to travel hundreds of miles to one of the many sold-out roadside motels in America, together in awe. Something about seeing something so beautiful, complicated, rare, unexpected, unlikely, leads us to transcend boundaries. Art, design, and our creations can do the same. When we witness art, we come together. It is for and belongs to everyone. And just how beauty was born from simply two orbs aligning, art can come from anything and out of nowhere. It can make us feel hopeful, intrigued, confused, joyful. It reminds us of our humanity in the times when we feel most overwhelmed by our own struggles and least hopeful about the state of the world. It's in taking time to notice these rare and incredible things that reveals the beautiful and the divine. And ultimately, that helps us go on. Now, our task going forward is to continue what we've begun here at RISD, this cosmically special thing that we're a part of, and to make it last forever. So congratulations to the class of 2024. We did it.
Graciela is an illustration major fueled by a keen sense of community and care. Consequently, Graciela can often be found lounging on the RISD beach, teaching teens at local nonprofits, and mingling at Bolt Coffee as she recommends the vegan carrot cake donut to the nearest person in line. She makes things, interactive placemats, embroidered love letters, and stencil sets that create unconventional conversation. But she's more interested in making spaces and contexts for more meaningful relationships. She hopes to make art, design, and writing that bring communities together and make people feel seen. But ideally, she's looking for a job that will pay her just to talk with others. Please join me in welcoming Graciela.
Thank you, Provost Gadesky, President Williams, and class of 2024. Thank you to the family and friends that are present, and thank you to every person I've met, cherished, and loved at RISD. It is an honor to be speaking with you all today. When I was just 12 years old, what I worried most about in life was who my best friend was, or was going to be. I felt like I just hadn't found them. I moved from Orlando to Puerto Rico right at the end of elementary school, so having a lifelong best friend just felt out of the picture. I envied the best friends with photos of themselves dating many years back and moms that were friends of the same caliber. Everyone around me seemed to have found their person, and I was left out of it. I understood friendship in an idealistic way. I thought they were effortless, people you giggled with and sometimes cried with. And most importantly, I understood best friends especially as people who stayed with year after year. I never thought about the inevitable fights, the slights, or the drifting apart. I never wondered if friendships could be hard. How time has passed, class of 2024, as a momentous 4 years comes to a close, and as we prepare to disperse as soon as tomorrow, I've been thinking about my friendships more and more, and both how hard and complex and easy it is to have them slip away. I've also realized that friendships are much richer than I ever understood at a young age, and that the same support, consistency, and care I desperately sought out from a single person back then is what I've been able to receive from my friends and more broadly, my communities at RISD. Community has been essential to me here, a place of rest, motivation, and inspiration. My community includes new friendships, old ones, the workers at the Met or portfolio, my roommates, all the coworkers and classmates I've ever had, and the people who pass me on the sidewalk so frequently they offer me a smile every time, even though we've never exchanged a word. It amazes me always, the incredible vastness of people around us, and the sheer amount of potential for connection, especially in college. So, as college comes to a close, I wonder, where are we going to find community next? I mean, out in the world with no institution binding our interests, habits, and schedules together. Now is the time to hold on to those around us, but maybe more importantly, to strengthen our skills in making community and friends no matter where we go. In truth, RISD was not an automatic community for me. In Puerto Rico, we shared a place of being, a culture, and a language. Colleges often offer the same promise, plus parades, packed stadiums, campus pride, and silly stuff like that. RISD is a little different in that regard. Divided by majors, a dispersed campus, and just being too busy to socialize, our sense of connection is sometimes challenged. At RISD, I actually had to dig a bit deeper and wider to find my communities. And after the childhood I described, I was really ready to change that feeling. I wanted to forge community, and so I learned how. Today felt like a good chance to share with you what I learned. First, community is intentional. You have to do community and put in the time, work, and effort. We must reach out to one another, ask about each other's days, be there in times of need, and celebrate in times of achievement. Community will not simply land in the palm of your hand, but you will find it when you seek it. Second, community is urgent. The times the RISD community has felt most united is when we've gathered around a cause. Maybe those moments feel so powerful because of their rarity. A little over a year ago, last spring, herds of students, faculty, and staff rallied around Prog Wash, calling for fair wages for the caretakers of our buildings and grounds. On those same steps, this spring, we again gathered in unity for Palestinian rights. For our fellow students and for students all over the country standing up for justice. We can care for people thousands of miles away, just as we do those we share the same space with. Urgent community reminds us of the genuine power in a collective working to achieve a similar goal through an authentic support system. Community is also physical. I'm talking about the Mr. Rogers sort of community. Who are the people around you every day that you may not be that close to, but their simple consistency, passing on the street, sitting on the bus, buying a coffee, binds you together? When everything in your life can feel like it's falling apart, it's important to recognize those people and relish in an extraordinary ordinary. Community is extended. I've had the pleasure of working with many local nonprofit organizations like City Arts, Project Open Door, New Urban Arts, and the RISD Arts Circle, which all reach a hand out to the youth who need it and don't let go, supporting them long into the future. I've considered that I've needed those spaces just as much as the youth they serve. Breaking out of your day-to-day to serve people outside of your immediate life sometimes means more than you will ever know. Last, community is radiant. We have been here for 4 years, working tirelessly over projects, paintings, sculptures, and designs that are dear to our hearts and minds because of concepts so personal to us as creators. We are endlessly vulnerable, embodying our most intimate thoughts in our work. We then connect with those who witness, understand, and accept what we put on the table, extending community through what we make. So, community is intentional, urgent, physical, extended, and radiant. And one more thing, community, like friendship, is hard. It requires time, effort, care, and patience. I'm excited to step out into a world where I know so many of us will continue to build community wherever we go, learning from what we've managed to build here in only a few years. Starting tomorrow, let's all take the bus somewhere new. Find a nonprofit to volunteer at. Maybe ask strangers for their names, and make a plan to see that friend we felt has been drifting. People care and want to care. Our communities are where that care happens. I'm so honored to have discovered and been part of so many communities with all of you. Look around. Who has been your community? How have they shown up for you? And how did you do the same? How will you do that for others in the next chapter of our lives? My dad has this saying he would always mention when he would try to get me to go to some networking event, that life is like a snowball going downhill. And as we go, we should collect and connect with the people we encounter. Community is more genuine than a networking event, but it's the same idea. Gather as you go. Resonate with the newness of relationships. Practice breaking out of your comfort zone. People might surprise you. Class of 2024, I am so proud of us. As someone who didn't get a high school graduation, as many of us did, due to the pandemic, I feel extra lucky to say, congratulations guys, you did it.
Please rise if you wish and if you are able. Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the Rhode Island School of Design, I have the honor of presenting the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Architecture and Bachelor of Fine Arts.
With the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Rhode Island School of Design, I hereby confer the bachelor's degrees with all of the rights and privileges appropriate thereunto. Candidates for bachelor's degrees, please come forward to receive your diplomas. Just at the risk of repeating myself, families. I know this is the Bachelor of Divinity School, so just when you hear your child's name, just do a little silent. All right, we're gonna get it going.
Young Lee. Ryan Christopher Lettieri. Shinjiao Evan Lee. Santiago Abri. Caleb D. Calloway. Noah Chalpin. Zoe Miyako Lee.
Oh, I think there's another speech though. I swear I think there's closing remarks. Put the name on.
Oh my God, we're right here. We're right here, there's you in here. There's you in here.
Alright, no, you guys sit down. There's more.
You are about to become members of an extraordinary global community. The RISD Alumni Association is 32,000 strong. No matter if they are working in a studio, part of a company, or collaboration, RISD alums use their talents and bold ideas to impact the world by tackling urgent societal and environmental issues, creating new businesses, forms of practice, and inspiring us with beautiful works of art, products, and ideas. As I've said before, the power of artists and designers cannot nor should it be underestimated. To take this moment to consider what you want your own legacy to be, graduates. Now we are at the moment of turning the tassel. Turning the tassel symbolizes one's transition from candidate to graduate. So on the count of 3, I ask each of you to move your tassel from the right to the left. And for everyone in this assembly to please join me in applauding RISD's newest alum. 1, 2, 3.